That is right, everyone. You didn't hear the line. But, folks, we're loving life again because baseball is finally back. And welcome to the Walkoff on 90.3.
Just like that, I'm back to loving life again.
Because we're back. We're loving life. I'm your host, Vincent Pacone, and I'm with the amazing Anthony Walsh and our co-host. You ever see The Office, Justin?
Of course, Dwight Schrute.
Yeah, the assistant to the regional manager. That you're like the assistant to the regional co-host. That's what I think that's the name we're gonna give you.
So that means he's my assistant.
There you go.
I'm your assistant.
Take my orders, Randall.
Wow. It's your world. I'm living in it.
Exactly right.
We're with the amazing Justin Randall. Guys, how we doing? It's been, what, a little over a full week of baseball now.
Mm-hmm.
Our first full week of baseball. I think so, right?
Yeah. The season started on the March 26th was the first.
It was right around there, yeah.
Something around there. So yeah. But yeah, no, it's been a good first week and a half, 2 weeks of baseball. We have a lot to discuss, of course. So it's gonna be a very fun episode because there are a lot of teams that are off to slower starts that we didn't really expect in the beginning. So we'll break that down, but. I'll turn it over to Anthony because I know he has some stuff that he wants to talk about as well.
Well, I'll do my weekly Mets check-in, and of course we've already had the season be over and then come back and now over again with Soto being out for a few weeks. But I don't know if you guys want to start on this topic. I'll just mention it for a second, but I'm actually kind of happy they put him on the injury list because a calf strain could lead to an Achilles. So I know some Mets fans out there, especially Frank the Tank, are very upset about it, and I get it. Believe me, I am too, but I'm kind of happy that they're taking it slow with him because if you put him right back out there with a calf strain, you know with the Mets luck he's going to go tear his Achilles. Like you just know it's going to happen. So rest up the calf. Things will be okay. Tyrone Taylor is already looking like a Hall of Famer as it is anyway, so everything's going to work out fine.
Which, by the way, breaking news about Tyrone Taylor.
Oh, yeah. He changed his number.
Number.
From what to what?
I think it's 28 now.
Yeah. He interrupted a call I had last night to tell me that news, by the way. I had to know that minute.
Tyrone
Taylor changed his number.
I will say, don't be surprised if the guy starts, becoming a 300 hitter and he fills in nicely when Soto's on the IL.
Because he changed his number?
Hey, listen, we had Grimace 2 years ago. All right. Now we have Tyrone Taylor changing his number. Maybe that sparks the team.
Grimace?
Well, I thought it was Carlos Mendoza's.
Grimace 2 years ago.
Grimace didn't change his number. That didn't
No. But my point is, though, Grimace elevated the team.
You missed the gimmick.
Right.
The new gimmick is Carlos Mendoza wearing glasses now. And ever since he started wearing glasses, they're winning.
That's true.
That's the gimmick.
All right. So what are we gonna call Tyrone Taylor's number change?
Nothing.
Really?
It's
Nothing?
not a gimmick.
Really? You don't think so?
No. We need real gimmicks.
All right.
Exactly.
Bring back Grimace. That was a fun time.
Anyways,
with the Oh My God song blasting everywhere.
But I will say, though, on that topic of Tyrone Taylor, I do think it is a blessing in disguise for the Mets because this is going to prove how deep this team can actually be with the time that he's out. I mean, granted, it's only 2 to 3 weeks and we're very early in the season, but it's an important time for the Mets. You want to get off to a good start in the season. You have expectations of making the playoffs, and any little mishap throughout the season could cost them a few games, and you look back at it at the end of the season, that could be the difference of them making the postseason or not. So I think this is a good thing for the Mets. Also, it's a bad thing, of course. Juan Soto is your $750 million player, but I think it's good for them. It's going to show how deep they are and if they're going to actually come together as a team, and especially we talked about it off air with Francisco Lindor getting off to a poor start. This is a time for him now to be the quote-unquote captain because he's not officially the captain. So we'll see if he steps up with the time that Soto's out.
I think that's fair. Well, something else happened not once, not twice, but 3 times this week in one game. It's the amazing Joe Adell who took away some home runs. We have the call here.
Numbers to start the year. No balls and 1 strike. And here's a drive out to right from Raleigh. Adell's back near the wall. He leaps and he caught it. Joe Adell robs Raleigh of what would have been his first home run this year.
What a play for Joe Adell. He was talking.
There's a drive to right. Adell is back. He's at the wall. He leaps up. He got another one.
Wow.
Joe Adell, what a night.
That is unbelievable. Joe Adell, listen to the crowd.
Now here's Crawford with a fly ball to right toward the corner. It's Joe Adell again near the foul pole. Leaping up. Did he catch it again? He fell into the crowd, so it's a home run. They called him out. He did it again.
If he's into the crowd, that more than likely is a home run.
3 times in one game, which beats the former record of 2, which, I mean, I saw it the other day. It happened last year from a guy that I do not remember. I think he was on the Marlins or something. But 3 times in one game, Joe Adell shows it off. The next day he hits a home run in a 1-0 win 3 days ago now on April 4th. To rob the Mariners of a W and to rob Cal Raleigh, who's been in a slump of his first home run of the season. Now, he hit his first yesterday against the Rangers, but what a performance. I mean, it is the Joe Adell game in this one.
Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely unbelievable. He's still waiting to get his bat going, but I think it's safe to say that his defense has come to play in the opening stages of the season. But you know, it's a great moment for him, and I gotta say, the fan who took the picture of him, you know, holding up his glove when he was in the stands. There was a article, I didn't read it yet, but it was posted on X, where it was a mother who I think has 5 children, if I'm not mistaken, who captured that picture of Adell. So I'll have to read that story, but nonetheless, great moment for him. Unbelievable to see, especially in a season where the Angels are probably not expected to do too well. You know, that's one of the highlights that they're going to look back on during the 2026 season, that Joe Adell robbed 3 home runs.
I'm going to give a way too early prediction on this.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Angels fans. I think it's almost a guarantee that he's getting traded at the deadline. Like, he's the most value they have, essentially, because Trout is a walking injury at this point. And he's older, obviously. Joe Adell is in his prime. He's a really solid hitter. He had almost 100 RBIs on a garbage Angels team last year. And he's already flashing signs this early. I mean, in all reality, what does that game really mean? Like, it's a cool game. You know, it'll be talked about a few years from now on a social media post, and we'll say, oh, yeah, that was a really cool game from Joe Adell. But, like, it doesn't mean all that much in the long term. But I think Adell is an underrated piece in an outfield. And, you know, when we get to the trade deadline time, again, which is a while away, I understand that. Honestly, the Angels would be foolish not to trade the guy. They're not going to compete for another 2 or 3 years at best. And he's a guy that could give you a few solid prospects, maybe even a pitching prospect thrown in there. I would, if I'm an Angels fan, like, yeah, it would stink to give away one of your best players, but also think long term. You have to get young pieces on this team if you're going to succeed. And I think Adell's the best part of that team to give away for young pieces.
Well, Anthony, let's talk about this, because this is our 4th year doing the show, and we could say this on and on and on. In these 4 years, they have not reached the playoffs. In fact, in the last 13 years, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Jets.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Nice.
How's Jalen Hurts doing over there in Philly?
No, I honestly forgot the number. Last time they reached the playoffs. Okay. The last time they reached the playoffs was 2014. So, okay, 12 years. I was close. Just similar numbers. But the last time they reached the playoffs was 2014. Mike Trout was healthy back then. I think they just picked up Albert Pujols that year or the year prior. This team has no direction whatsoever. On one hand, they have who can be still a very good player, a very solid player in Mike Trout if he's not injured. And then they had Shohei Ohtani for a while. They didn't make the playoffs with him. All these moves, and they never look like they're going into rebuild mode. They never look like they're in playoff contention mode. They look like they're at mediocrity or worse every single year. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better anytime soon. I don't understand the direction, because we will see great games like this. And, you know, Mike Trout being Mike Trout every once in a while, or Zach Neto last night hit a moonshot off Chris Sale. Like, I just don't understand the direction of this team, because they have a lot of pieces. And, like, Joe Adell is probably their most tradable piece, but Zach Neto isn't that far behind. I just think he's too much of a superstar.
Well, I think right now, I mean, the Angels, they're still in the quote-unquote rebuild stage. I mean, I agree with you to an extent where they're not fully committing to a rebuild and that they're trying to compete in that AL West, but it's a tough division for them to come out of. You still got Seattle, you got Houston in there, so it's tough for them to really be a competitive team in there. But as far as like tradable pieces, I agree with both of you. Joe Adell is probably the most prized possession on the trade market that the Angels could get some value back for. But another guy I want to talk about, and we'll get into it, another guy in the Angels who's, let's just say he's done a very good job for me in fantasy purposes, and that's Jose Soriano, who pitched an absolute gem last night against the Angels. 10 strikeouts, didn't walk a guy. I think it was like 3 hits and 1 run, which he gave up to Drake Baldwin back in the first inning. He was absolutely unhittable. So what do they do with a guy like him? He's 27 years old, still very much in his prime, and I think he could end up being a very good pitcher in the near future. Do the Angels possibly look to get some high value, some high prospects for a guy like him at the deadline if they're not competing? Or do you guys see him as part of their long-term goal of, keeping him around and being that ace that the Angels have been looking for such a long time?
See, that's a hard one. And Anthony, I kind of want to hear your take, and I've got my own take. So let's hear yours to start off.
I look at it this way. He's 27 now. If we're saying, I think it's pretty conservative to say that the Angels will reach the playoffs maybe 5 years. I don't think we're reaching it prior to 5 years. That puts him in his early 30s. Now, that's not horrible for a pitcher. They could still be there's great pitchers. Some of the best pitchers in baseball are in their early 30s. But, and I respect that, you've had a great time with Jose Soriano in your first week. It has been 3 games.
Yeah, that's true.
It has been 3 games. So I know I just had a far down the line prediction with Adele, but that prediction with Adele is also backed up by last year's stats, 98 RBIs. So I think there's a little bit more credence to that. But, I mean, Soriano's not a bad pitcher by any means. He puts up solid stats, but he's more of a David Peterson type guy where he'll hover around a high 3.4 ERA type role. He's not an ace. Like right now, he's pitching like an ace. He's not an ace.
Right.
That said, you could get something for him. I mean, we've seen guys like him that have an ERA around 3.5 get a haul come in trade deadline time because of how hard it is to get premier pitching at the deadline. So I look at it this way if I'm an Angels fan. Like, everybody's on the table. There's not one piece on this team. If you want to say Zach Neto, you could say Zach Neto. He's 25 years old. Maybe you have something there for the future. I could accept that. But I really, if you got a haul of an offer for Zach Neto, you're going to tell me you're going to say no for it? You have to say yes to everything. And I agree with you, Vincent. They've just been in this hole for so long now, since 2014, where they're stuck in the middle. They don't know which way to go. They get pieces in there to try to get fans in the seats. They don't ever compete. They don't ever win any more than 75 games. And they're not going to win any more than about 75 games this year because they're not a good team. And the only way to get around that, especially when you don't spend money, which is a team that the Angels never spend money, is to make trades, make good trades. But, I mean, what I want to happen versus what will happen are two different things. I don't think that they're going to have as big of a fire sale as they should. I think Adele might go because, put it this way, they're never going to pay him anyway. So, why wouldn't you? But I don't think it's going to be as big of a fire sale as we think it's going to be. I think Soriano's probably going to be an Angel for the rest of the season, and it's useless. Even if he has the year of his career and has a 2.5 ERA, so what? They're going to win an extra few games because of that? They're not going anywhere. So we'll see. But if I'm an Angels fan, when you have a few pieces of talent, it's an opportunity to do something more with it. And I think this is an opportunity for them, and I don't think they're going to do it.
I think the Angels team, this is my thing. Their ownership is so distraught.
It's horrible.
It's awful. Listen, say what you want about the A's. Say what you want about, the Nationals ownership and all this. But the Angels ownership went so far to say that we're not going to broadcast spring training games because who cares about that? We're going to save money. And on top of that, they said our fans don't care about winning. Winning is not a priority for them. That's something that they said. They said our fans, winning isn't a priority for them. I don't know what they were alluding to with that. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's what they said. They went out and said that. Then you look at the injured list for this team. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I can be a pessimistic fan. I think there's times when, it calls for pessimistic. But I don't think of myself as pessimistic unless it comes to one person in the entire league, and that's Mike Trout. Mike Trout, in my eyes, is going to get injured at some point this year.
He already is injured, by the way.
Well, no. For the rest of the season. He's going to have a season-ending injury like he does every year. At some point, his back's going to give out. Something's going to happen. I know they put him in center field because it takes apparently a lot of strain off of your back, which is weird.
That makes
That's
sense.
the
Yeah, I
opposite.
don't know.
Apparently they said that right field is the hardest to play on your body because I don't know.
Center field, you're covering so much more ground.
Exactly, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
But I think it's more because you have you're not moving right every time. I don't know, or left every time. I don't know.
Put it this way: if the Angels do it, it's probably a dumb decision. So
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
just chalk it up to that.
But their injured list is insane. I mean, Anthony said they don't spend money. I wouldn't spend money if the last person I spent a lot of money on was Anthony Rendon.
Well,
So-
spend money smartly, which they don't.
But
So-
but to be honest, that seemed like a smart signing at the time.
Well, I mean,
He's coming off that 2019 season.
yes, but I mean, you have to think there would have been whispers about how much of a he just doesn't care about baseball. Like he's out of every star I've ever seen that signs a big deal, he has to be the most non-caring about baseball player I've ever seen. Like he openly said, it's not a top priority for me. Like it's just not. And he is essentially retired right now, even though I don't even think he's officially retired. Like he doesn't care. And I would think that somebody in the Nationals organization would know that. I guess not, but. Even if they did, the Angels didn't do the proper due diligence, obviously. So,
You know it's bad.
That makes sense. The Angels not doing the proper due diligence makes
Right.
sense. But the idea, for fans like us, I didn't hear anything. I thought he was a really good player. That is the last cornerstone third baseman that the Nationals had, and that 2019 season, they go on to win the World Series. They looked like a dominant team. I mean, that is one of the best World Series I've ever seen. Is that 2019 Nationals versus Astros. And he was a cornerstone of that, him and Howie Kendrick. But to your point, Justin, tradable pieces are all over this team. They have Alek Manoah. Imagine if Alek Manoah has 2 good months. If he has 2 good months back to back, he's gone. If Ben Joyce can really come out and he's the flamethrower from Tennessee or from Texas, whichever one he's from. Ben Joyce, if he comes out after his injury, after his shoulder surgery, he comes out and he has a dominant couple months, he's gone. I think Soriano can be gone any time now. When you're going out there throwing 8 one-run innings, did he throw 8 or 7?
He went 8 innings, 1 hit.
1 run.
Oh no, sorry, no, 8 innings. I think it was 3 hits, 1 run,
and 11 strikeouts.
10 strikeouts.
Yeah. That is what the Angels want to see because they're just going to ship it away. And honestly, I don't know if they will be ready in 5 years.
no, I mean that's like I said, that's a conservative take is that they're going to be ready in 5 years, and it's partly because of the reason that they're. I mean, to be frank, they're stupid in their decision making, but they're also just. I mean, I can't prove this for a fact, but I think the reason that they're not going to go trade fire sale everybody is because they don't want nobody to be in the seats. I mean, they already struggle with attendance. If you're in California or in Los Angeles, you're not going to go to an Angels game. You're going to go to a Dodgers game. Like, why wouldn't? I mean, that'd be the dumbest decision ever to go to an Angels game unless you have no money. But I think they want Mike Trout on that team. They want Joe Adell on that team because if you don't have them, you're gonna have a bunch of no names out there, and you're not gonna sell tickets. And Art Moreno, listen, I know bad owners when I see them because the Mets had bad ownership for a long time, and the Jets have one of the worst, if not the worst owner in sports, in Woody Johnson. So I know bad ownership when I see it, and Art Moreno is the definition of a bad owner to the point where I think he they were chanting "sell the team," and the ushers were telling the fans, "Don't chant sell the team because Art can hear it and he doesn't like it," something like that. But it's just it's time after time again where they just stay stuck in limbo. And then what are you going to do if you don't trade any of these pieces? They're going to age out. They're not going to sign with your team, and you're just still going to be a garbage franchise. And I feel bad for the Angels fans, but that's the reality of it. And I don't know. I don't see them pulling off a trade deadline masterclass. Put it that way.
Okay. I agree. Now I want to switch topics just a little bit, and maybe we'll take it outside of baseball here. But Justin was telling me that he had this huge trade that he think was a really good idea on the fantasy baseball
No.
side. I would really love to hear it and give my non-biased grade.
All right. Well, I made the trade in fantasy. Now, let's give you some context here about the league because it's not just a standard points league where it just tallies up.
Justin, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take it as a trade as like
No,
the Yankees.
I don't think
trading
we
with
need to
the
explain the
Rays
whole
the bottom
logistics of the
line
league.
is it's a categories league. So you have the hitting categories, pitching categories. So there's a
here.
strategy
Yes.
to it.
Did you trade for Shohei Ohtani?
I did not. He has Shohei Ohtani on his team.
I do.
But the trade that we did make between each other was I received Pete Crow Armstrong and Emilio Pagan, so a really good center fielder and a very solid closing pitcher,
Okay.
for David Bednar
Okay.
and oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank here?
What?
Who's
You don't
your
remember
guy?
the trade? He doesn't remember the trade that
Oh
you're
my
hyping
goodness.
up?
Oh my gosh.
Who did you receive in the trade?
PCA and
You got PCA. You got Emilio Pagan.
Pagan.
I got Carson Bench.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He got Carson Benz and David Bednar.
All right, here's what I think. PCA is gonna have a bad year.
Okay.
That's my take. I think Pagan will be good, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bednar is better. I mean, he's the closer for a 90-win team.
That was my reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think
also
that's
my
a good
reasoning. My reasoning for Benj is his ceiling is around the same as PCA. Like if Benj is what we think he's going to be a PCA type hitter.
Okay.
He's going to be a high RBI guy, high average guy, a lot of stolen bases. So far, he's been a lot of stolen bases and not a high average because he's only 2 weeks into his career and he's pressing and all that. But I think, quite frankly, we're kind of relying on him right now because Soto is out for a couple of weeks. He might still take a while to come back after that. They might take it easy with him. We don't know. And our outfield depth isn't that great. Like he was talking earlier about the Mets outfield depth. Well, you have MJ Melendez in the minor leagues, which I know really excites everybody in this room. And then you have Tommy Pham. And then you have Tommy Pham also, who we just signed, who's not even in game shape yet, and also is a little bit of an insane human being. Mm-hmm. So quite frankly, I really don't want that guy in my locker room. So in short, Carson Bench is going to be a big part of the Mets. And I think his ceiling is similar to PCA. Plus, I'm getting way better at closer. Emilio Pagan's not bad, but Dave Bednar's on one of the best teams in baseball and is going to get, 30 saves. So I'll take it.
Oh, I think it's a fair trade because last season Pagan had 32 saves as well for the Cincinnati Reds, who again had a breakout season. They were very close.
Well,
to
you know how I feel about the Reds. The Pirates are going to beat them.
That's what
And
you
so
think.
far,
I think it's a pretty even trade overall. I think you guys both got a pretty good amount. I think the difference is for both you guys is can Benj reach that height, and can PCA get somewhere around where he was last year? That's the big question.
I felt the need to make the deal because my outfield depth in my league is not really that good. I have Byron Buxton, who's, again, he's very injury prone. O'Neal Cruz, who's actually picked it up since that first series against the Mets. But overall, I think I needed a star-studded outfielder.
You mean Mr. Drop the fly ball, Mr. O'Neal Cruz?
Well,
is that what you mean?
well, ever since that series, he's actually put up some pretty good numbers. He had a multi-home run game.
No, he's an okay player, but
a guy that can give you 30-plus homers.
he's a little dumb when he's out there, but he's an
he
okay
is.
player.
He is.
He would be a wonderful DH.
He would
He would be a wonderful DH.
But the bottom line is
Let's put it that
I
way.
needed some kind of star outfielder to complete my team because on paper, I love my roster. So I just needed a good outfielder to solidify
Justin, I
that.
think we need a half-hour explainer on the categories in our fantasy league. I need a little bit more of context on the categories.
Usually standard leagues, Anthony, are just point tallies. That's it. You go against an opponent per week, and certain like home runs are worth a certain number of points and blah blah blah. But we're not doing that in our league.
You're not doing this.
Our league is strictly categories. You go up, you +1 for a hit, +1 for a home run, +1 for an RBI, so on and so forth.
Plus one for a home run.
Yeah, so like, let's just say you're.
Why would you ask that, Vincent? We're gonna get a 20-minute explanation.
No, it's
So
very
everything's just a hit?
No, it's very simple. If let's just say Carson Bench hits a home run, you get 1 tally for a hit, 1 tally for a run, 1 tally for a home run, and 1 tally for an RBI. And so it all accumulates over a 7-day span against an opponent that you're going against.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
I guess to an extent. I don't play fantasy baseball.
I'd
so
have to-
it's too much for me.
Off air, I'd have to show it to you, and then you'd understand.
You would have to show it to me,
Yeah.
my friend. You would have to show it to me. 1 second. I'm just checking my phone. But one thing I want to talk about before we dip out of here, because this is a segment that I always like during the season, is today's matchups, looking at the series that are playing today and kind of picking which one that you like the most. There's a really couple good series out there, and we were talking about it last week.
I know mine.
Painter was on the mound for the Phillies.
How do you feel about that, by the way?
I like Painter. He got hit around yesterday against the Giants, and he said after, I just felt like I was never in the driver's seat. And I like that. I need to see someone that can get hit around. Micah Bell last year had 3 starts of no-run baseball, and then everything imploded for him. And that's kind of been the story of his career. I need to see someone face adversity and kind of get out of it. And listen, he gave up 4 runs, but that's okay. That's okay. I like Painter. I liked him a lot against the Nationals. I think he showed the high heat. He showed the breaking ball really well. He looks like a pitcher that's very well. I don't know, well-mannered, very mature. He seems very mature on the mound.
He's poised. He is
poised. I don't think this is my thing. He'll never be as good as I just don't think in my heart he has the ceiling that McClain has. But I think he has the ceiling as, maybe I'm just looking around right now. I think he has a good ceiling as like Freddie Peralta. He can bring the strikeouts and he can, get through innings pretty well. I don't think he's going to be, McClain's ability to really carve up hitters.
And that's the thing, like, you don't need Painter to be that guy. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, you have Christopher Sanchez, who is...
And he's there for 7 more years.
Right, and he's a top... Right now, he's... What would you consider him? Top 5, top 10 pitcher in baseball right
I
now?
think top 5. I think
I'd
top
say
5
top five.
All right, so top 5 pitcher in baseball right now. You have Zach Wheeler, who's going to come back at some point. I know he's not getting any younger. He's, I think, 34, 35 now. But he still is a very solid pitcher.
And he's also
probably
coming
his
off
last
of
year.
thoracic outlet syndrome.
Right, which
so.
is it's not an easy recovery by any means. But you get him back into the fold. Those are your top 2 pitchers. If Andrew Painter gives you, quality starts of that nature and is a very solid number 3 pitcher, he's going to carve out a very good career. And I'd give him the same comparison as you said to Freddie Peralta, even though he's the ace for the Mets right now. But again, Painter, does he have that ceiling to be an ace in his future? Likely not, if I had to guess.
I think,
but
you want to know what? I'm going to take my comparison. I don't think Freddie Peralta. I think Freddie Peralta is more of a power pitcher. I'm going to give you Alcantara, Sandy Alcantara.
Okay.
I'm going to say that.
Well, if
Sandy's he's an inning eater, and I think that's what Painter can be.
Well, that's also high praise too, because Alcantara is a former Cy Young winner. So
yes, but I think that's his ceiling. That's his ceiling.
Well, I was gonna say if he's Alcantara without the injuries, then he's an ace, and he's one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Right.
Because people forget Sandy Alcantara at one point was one of the best pitchers in baseball. He just had the injuries. But I'll go as far as to say that I think the season does hinge a lot on Andrew Painter. I think you undersold it a little bit, Justin, because you look at the Phillies rotation. Yes, Sanchez is great. Aaron Nola is very back and forth. Very back and forth. You're either going to get 7 innings of 2-run ball out of him, or you're going to get 4 innings of 6-run ball. Like, that's how he is. That's what he's been the past few years. He's not what he was 5 years ago. Luzardo's a very solid pitcher. Then it gets downhill from there. I don't need to go into Taijuan Walker what he is. So, my point is, if Andrew, I don't, what it is, what it is. I loved him when he was a Met, but that's all over with now. But if Painter is, what he was supposed to be, which let's not forget, this guy was the top prospect in the organization and was promised as the next ace of the Phillies. If he's anywhere near that level, I'm not saying he has to be the ace. Sanchez is the ace, no doubt. But if he's anywhere near that level and he could be the 1B to Sanchez, all of a sudden, you're the favorites to win the NL East by a wide margin. And, I mean, that's assuming if your lineup puts it together and doesn't totally flail apart. But, I mean, I think Painter has to be more than just a solid number 3 starter. I think he's got to have an ERA in the high 2s at minimum. If he's an ERA at 3.5, I don't know. I don't think that's good enough.
I think you're playing it a little too high, and I know why you're playing it too high, because you and I look at Jesus Luzardo differently.
Okay.
And I think Jesus can be a solid number 2, a really solid number 2
I'm
to
on the
come
same
off
page
of
as you in that
Sanchez.
regard.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I think he can have a 3.5 ERA. My biggest thing is Wheeler needs to come back and be semi-Wheeler, because Taijuan Walker is an automatic loss. If he goes out on the mound, it's like, listen, I've been saying this all year. There's been a lot of historical atrocities throughout the time, throughout the history of time. And Taijuan Walker is on that list for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's just awful. He gave up 4 runs to the Rockies and the Nationals. Imagine what's going to happen when the Mets come in town and he has to go on the mound.
Oh, God.
Well, for one of our 0 for 80 stretches, then I think he'll be okay. But he's the Richard Lovelady of a starting rotation.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
there you go. That's a good comparison.
As soon as Wheeler comes back, though, I mean, you got to assume that DFA is on the table for Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, his contract's too big.
Here's my thing. Well, I'll start with Luzardo, because the Wheeler thing is just me going to say the injury, and I don't know how he's going to bounce back. So that's a quick, simple explanation. And also it's probably one of the last years of his career. But for Luzardo, sure, he had a really good year last year. He's never had consistent success. And that's my thing with him. Now, I'm gonna mention it. I'm not saying it's just because he's off to a slow start that he's gonna be bad. He has gotten off to a slow start. Again, it's very early. It's been 2 starts. Don't take that as he's gonna have a horrible year. But you go through the numbers. Again, last year was a solid year. 24, 5 ERA. 23, 3.58, very solid. 22, 3.32. 2021, pretty bad year, 6 ERA. And it's not like he's some young kid anymore. You know, he's approaching 30 now. So I'm not saying he's not going to be good for you guys. I think he's going to put up a solid year. But if your number 2 is Jesus Luzardo and the Mets' number 2 is Nolan McLean, and McLean lives up to the expectations we have for him, which is not a guarantee by any means. Don't take that as a guarantee. But if he does, all of a sudden Freddie Peralta and Freddie Peralta and Nolan McLean, that's a way better combo than Sanchez and Luzardo. So, but if Painter goes in there and is the Andrew Painter you thought he was going to be, and you have Sanchez, Painter, Luzardo, then you're way better than what the Mets have. So that's how I look at it.
I want to see Luzardo against one more competitive opponent before I say anything, because he had a bad start against Texas, but it was the first start of the season. Then he dominated against the Rockies, and I will not take the Rockies for an MLB team. That's
a mulligan.
versus AAA. So we'll see how it is. We are going to go to break. I have to get going, but Anthony and Justin will continue to give you the greatest baseball coverage we have, and we will be back real soon. I can't wait to see you next week. Anthony can't wait to talk about the Mets and be able to bash the Phillies with no.
It's a Mets show from now on. Let's go.
Listen. The one time that I had the show to myself, I bashed Hunter Green for a full hour, and Anthony was listening. So that was great. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere here on the Walkoff on 90.3.
Welcome back to the Walkoff here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. It's me. It's Anthony Walsh behind the microphone because Justin Randell had to bail on us a little early, but that's okay.
Vincent Picone had to bail on us
Vincent Picone had to bail on us a little bit early. I'm staring at you, Justin, as I was thinking about you. But yeah, we have a new segment that Justin and I just came up with in the break. And I think it's going to be a little bit of an interesting segment because we always talk about as baseball fans, you know, are we being real with our takes or are we being reactionary with our takes? So we've come up with real or reactionary. We're going to go through some of the leaders in stats, and we're going to say, is that stat real for the totality of the season? So let's just say, and it's not the case, but let's say Aaron Judge was leading in home runs. We might say that's real because Aaron Judge might lead the MLB in home runs at the end of the season. If it was Cedric Mullins, we would say that's reactionary because we're only a weekend. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory and everybody understands the rules. So we're going to get started out with batting average. And the person that leads the league in batting average is kind of a surprise, at least to me. Andy Pahis batting .474. Is that real or is that reactionary, Justin?
It's reactionary.
Really?
It's reactionary because I mean, what we're saying is this guy going to lead the majors in batting, especially in the National League? Is he going to lead the batting average category in the NL? I don't think so. Will I say he's off to a great start? Sure. 3 homers, 12 RBIs. You mentioned it. 18 hits and 38 at bats. I mean, he's off to a great start. Don't get me wrong. He's in a loaded lineup with the LA Dodgers, but I don't see him continuously leading the league in batting average. Do I think this guy can hit 300? Yeah, but he's not going to lead the league.
I think put it this way. Like, obviously, Andy Pahis is not going to lead the league in batting average.
Yeah.
But do you think it's real or reactionary in terms of, is it an actual, like, does it matter? Does this mean that Andy Pahis might actually have a year that's really going to help the Dodgers, or is he going to be bottom of the lineup 9-hole?
Oh, okay. No, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, then in that case, it's real. Yes, because he's going to be a pivotal piece to this Dodgers team. He was pivotal last season when they won the World Series. The year before that, he was first coming up and getting his feet wet in the organization. Last year was his breakout season. Do I think he can continue and become a better player? For sure. He's still a very young player in that regard. But, yeah, no, I would say in that regard, yes, it's a real reaction because he does have the ceiling of becoming one of the top outfielders in baseball, given all the players that are around him and making him a better player.
I think Pahis is one of the more underrated guys in baseball, and I think it's a simple reason. I mean, if Andy Pahis was a Met, I'm not going to say as far as he'd be a star, but I think he'd be more known, put it that way, because he'd be up on the echelon of Mets hitters than he is with the Dodgers, just because how stacked the Dodgers lineup is. But I do agree with you, and obviously the batting average just early in the year doesn't really matter. No, but in terms of real reactionary, I think this is a good one to start out with because obviously he's not. I don't think he's gonna even hit 300. I think he's probably gonna hit around 280 again. And I think he's going to be a good player in this lineup. And like you mentioned, he was a big part of last season. He doesn't get the credit he deserves because of the marathon of a World Series it was last year. And like I just said, the star power on the Dodgers. But Pages is a very good player. So I'll say real also. Not in terms of he's going to hit 400, obviously.
Yeah.
But real in terms of I think it's indicative that he's going to have a solid year.
Right.
All right. So we're going to go over to wins next. And we have a tie in terms of who's leading the league in wins. We have 3 wins for your boy over there, Jose Soriano, who I know you're madly in love with. And we have 3 wins for Aaron Ashby for the Milwaukee Brewers. So I'll start out with Soriano. I think I know the answer to this, but you're probably going to say real, aren't you?
No,
no?
I think I have my head on straight. Because, look, he's on the Angels, Jose Soriano. Is this team going to be competitive, come June, July? No. They're going to be at the bottom of the pack. Do I think Jose Soriano could have a very solid year? Sure. But, is this guy going to be, the biggest name on the market come trade deadline time? Likely not. So I'm going to say reactionary. But do I think that this guy has the potential to have a solid season? Sure. I mean, he's 3-0. ERA is 0.45. He just, as we mentioned before the break, how he dismantled a pretty stacked, Atlanta Braves lineup, to say the least. Ronald Acuna, Austin Riley, Drake Baldwin, Ozzie Albies. I mean, the list goes on and on. Michael Harris. So he absolutely destroyed that team last night. So I think he can have a really solid year. But as far as in the long run, I don't see him being, as I mentioned, a huge name come deadline time. Could he be dealt? Sure, but he's not the name that I'm circling on my list of trade deadline targets, to say the least.
But think about I get what you're saying, but think about the names that were available starting pitching wise last trade deadline. It wasn't exactly the greatest rotation in the world because if you're a winning team, you're not going to give up your starting rotation. It's going to be from teams that aren't very good, that might have a guy that has an ERA in the 3s or maybe low 4s that says, hey, you know what? He's getting a little older, or maybe he's on the last year of his deal. I'll get what I can for him. And I think Soriano could be one of those guys. I'm not going to rehash the conversation we just had. The Angels are stupid. They're probably not going to do it anyway. If they do, good for them. But we'll see. I also think it's reactionary. I don't think he's obviously not going to have anywhere near as good of a year as he's having right now. I think he'll end up having high 3, low 4 ERA. He's going to be around what he is for his career. If they're smart, they'll deal him. The other one, Aaron Ashby, I think is kind of an intriguing one because he's a reliever. And he's tied for leading the league in wins. And I know it's a week into the season, but still, 3 wins as a reliever, 8 2/3 innings. And he's coming off of a really good year in the Milwaukee Brewer bullpen. Is this real or reactionary?
This one I'm also going to say reactionary, just for the win state.
Well,
I'll tell you why. It's reactionary for the wins because the situations that he came in was because the Brewers, they didn't have a lead, with the starters going out there on the field, and most of the starters haven't really gone 5-6 innings. So whenever the Brewers got the wins, it was always credited to the relievers because they never, as I mentioned, hit the 5-inning mark, which qualifies for a win. So in that case, Ashby has accumulated 3 wins thus far because of those reasons. Do I think that's going to stay that way? No, he's going to go back to being a very solid reliever where he's not going to get credited for wins. Will he get credited for losses possibly? It's in all likelihood.
I mean more in terms of is he going to replicate last year and be a good pitcher? Obviously, a reliever's not going to lead the league in wins. We know that.
No, that's a known fact. But as far as he played in 43 games last season. ERA was 2.16, which is very solid. Went 66 innings, 76 strikeouts. He was very solid last year. So, in terms of being a very solid reliever in baseball, that's real because the stats back that up. But as far as discussing the wins category and him being tied for first with 3 wins already, that's not going to stay like that. At some point, the Brewers starting pitching is going to get credited for the wins when they do.
Fair enough. I think it's real in terms of he's going to be another good reliever this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, the wins is not going to. Again, this segment's more about is this indicative of the season they're going to have? And meaning in this case with Ashby, is he going to be a good reliever again? I think he is.
Yes.
If I went down the list a little bit and I said Chris Sale, I might say it's a little reactionary because Chris Sale is getting older now, and I know he's been a good Atlanta Brave. He's down on the list with 2 wins, so he's 1 behind, leading the league. But at his age now, do I honestly think he's going to have that elite of a season? Probably not. So I would say that's reactionary. All right, we're going to head over to home runs now. And this one I think is a little interesting because you lead off with Shea Langoliers, and then there's a three-way tie. You have Shea Langoliers, Chase DeLauder, and Drake Baldwin. I'll start with Langoliers. Is this real or reactionary? And for this one, I'll stick with the home runs. Not that he's going to lead with the league in home runs,
But if
but
he's gonna,
is he gonna have his career high in home runs? How about that?
I think he could top his career high in home runs this year. He had 31 last season. He's already at 5 this year. He's been off to a great start. And it also helps with the fact that he's playing at Sutter Health Ballpark, which is a minor league stadium. So it's a little bit easier to hit home runs. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's a righty bat. So left field out in that ballpark is fairly shallow. So I think he's going to have a lot more opportunities to hit some home runs over there. So, yeah, I'm going to say real. I think he has a very legitimate chance of topping his 31 home runs he hit last season.
I think it's a good point that they do play in a Mickey Mouse stadium.
Yeah.
For all the talk about the Yankees stadium, and I'm one that says it a lot too. It's a Mickey Mouse ballpark.
Right.
I mean, the Athletics are literally playing on a minor league stadium, so the numbers are skewed. But I do think the Athletics team gets a lot of hate where they shouldn't get hate. I think they're a better team than they get credit for. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go win a World Series or anything. I think they can get in a wild card. I think that's not crazy to say. I think it's just another one of those cases similar to the Pirates that we talked about last week there, where the recent history of the team clouds people's judgment. And when you actually look at the team, they have a good amount of young hitters that are pretty good on that roster. So we'll see how it goes. We'll go down the list. I already mentioned Langoliers, Chase DeLauder, a young player. We really don't have much to work off of with him, at least at the major league level. But do you think he could have do you think he could hit 35 homers this year?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say no. I don't think he's gonna hit 35. I mean, granted, he's off to a great start with the 5 home runs, but it's just in that ballpark, progressive field for the Guardians. I don't know if he has the power yet to hit 35 home runs. I mean, he's still really young. He's only 24 years old, and this is his first full season in the majors. He came up last season for the postseason run for the Guardians. They had no prior regular season experience before that, so this is his first full season in the majors for the regular season. So, yeah, I'm gonna say reactionary in regards of him hitting 35 home runs in his first season. I don't see that.
I don't see it either.
What?
I don't see it either.
Yeah. So, could he hit 25 to 30? Sure. I don't think he's gonna hit 35 plus.
I agree. And I think this is also one, if I'm a Guardians fan, and I know DeLauder's not a big home run hitter in the minor leagues, but it's one of those spots where you could be like, if Carson Benj was leading right now, even though he's not a home run hitter, we could hype ourselves up and get excited and say, well, maybe this is the year he has a little bit of pop and he helps us and gets some homers. I do agree with you. I think this is a classic case of overreaction, I guess you could say. I'll go with Drake Baldwin. Drake Baldwin is another guy that's a young bat, doesn't get the credit he deserves, and is in, I would still say, a stacked lineup in Atlanta. If they didn't have injury issues, I'd be worried about them a lot more than I am. I'm still worried about them, but I'd be really worried about them. How do you feel about Drake Baldwin?
I'm going to say reactionary once again, as far as home runs are concerned. Again, tied for first in home runs with 5. Don't see this guy hitting more than 25 home runs.
Fair enough.
I don't see it. But granted, could this guy? I mean, he's got 13 RBIs, which is tied for first as well, Anthony. So, do I think he can have a lot of RBIs this season? Yeah, I think he has the potential to hit 90 RBIs to 100. I think he does. But as far as home runs are concerned, don't see more than 25.
You mentioned RBIs, and I'll go to that really quick. I think it's safe to say we could agree on the top guy in RBI. Well, one of the guys that's tied for RBI, C.J. Abrams. I think this is the classic case of reactionary. C.J. Abrams, I don't think he's a bad player. I think he gets more hate than he deserves for some of the off-field issues he had, and I think that kind of gets all jumbled in. And I don't know. When I look at the Nationals team, I see a lot of good young hitters. He just doesn't immediately come to mind for me. When I look at the Nationals, I more so think of their outfield. I think their outfield has potential to be one of the better outfields a few years from now, specifically James Wood. James Wood, I mean, that kid, it's so early, it's hard to say what he's going to be, but that kid could be one of the top 5 players in baseball if things break out right. Just Abrams is not one of those guys when I think about the Nationals.
No, I agree with you. It's definitely reactionary as far as RBIs are concerned. Is he off to a great start? Yeah, no, for sure. But is he going to lead the National League or even Major League Baseball in RBIs by the end of the season? No. I don't even think it's going to be remotely close by the end of the year for him. But listen, give him a lot of credit. He's off to a great start this season. The Nationals are trying to be a more improved team in the NL East. but definitely reactionary. But I'll let you take it away for the other two guys that are tied with him.
Well, I was thinking about moving on to some of the games that are being played today because
Oh,
I don't want to
yeah.
go too long with this segment.
Alright.
But
That's
I mean, plus the other two guys, we already talked about Baldwin, Garrett Mitchell. I don't think is that exciting to talk about. So
Simply put, it's reactionary.
yeah, I don't think it's that exciting to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'll go on to some of the games that we have going on today. One of which is a series that already started yesterday that I didn't even realize these two teams are playing together. But we have a World Series rematch happening this early in the year. And as I'm sitting here thinking about it, number one, how did Major League Baseball not market this a little bit better? I mean, I consume baseball content every day, and I can honestly say, until I look right now, I really didn't even notice that two of those teams are playing together. Yesterday, it was a blowout. The Dodgers beat them 14-2. Today, they're playing the second game in a series. That's a series that stuck out at me just immediately as interesting. As I move down, not a ton of great matchups. Phillies-Giants. I think I'll say about the Giants. The Giants, I know, have been, still the worst offensive team in baseball right now,
Which
right?
is very surprising.
Yeah, that's something I just don't think it's going to continue. If you want to we'll do a little extension of the real reactionary segment here, that's reactionary.
Yeah.
They have a good lineup. Now, Rafael Devers, from the moment he's joined the Giants, has not been the same hitter. Luis Arias is not loved by the sabermetric people, but I think we both really like him as a player. The guy gets on base, the guy hits consistently over 300. He has a couple batting championships. I don't know. I mean, I know Matt Chapman's bat isn't great. I think his glove is still great. He had a lot of boneheaded moves against the Mets, but it's one series. I think the Giants, not that they're going to be horrible, I think they're going to be a solid team. I think the lineup's going to be better than it is. I do think that the manager who's, the first manager ever to come straight from college and have zero professional experience, I think that's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing against Tony Vitello. For all I know, he'll turn into a good big league manager a few years from now. But, he didn't really know what he was doing managing that bullpen. He didn't.
No, I agree with you. And I'm on the same point as you as well, as far as this isn't going to stay like this for the entire season. I think, and I said it before the season started when we did our previews. I don't know if we said it on air or off air, but I think the Giants have a very good lineup, 1 through 9. There's a lot of depth. They have average in there with Luis Arias. Rafael Devers, who's off to a slow start, I think he's going to pick it up at some point. The downfall of this team is going to be, I would say, defensive miscues because they don't know the situation at first base. You have Rafael Devers and Gerard Encarnacion who've split time there so far, who both have not had that much experience at the major league level.
And we
playing
saw
first base.
Encarnacion at first base was horrible.
Exactly. But I think that's going to be the downfall is the defense. And also, I think the relief pitching as well because they don't have Randy Rodriguez, who's on the injury list as well, who was a high-leverage closer a while back. So now they have Ryan Walker taking over that relief role as well. So, yeah, those are my two things there. But as far as the lineup is concerned, I don't think that's going to be an issue as the year goes on.
It's their pitching.
Yeah,
If all the social media people out there that are creating, and I see all these videos that trying to, the Giants have the worst lineup in baseball. What a disaster. Buster Posey doesn't know what he's doing. La, 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 la. Yeah. If you actually took 2 seconds to look at the team, the problem with the team is going to be the starting pitching. It's painfully obvious. We saw Tyler Mahle the other day was horrendous, and Logan Webb is really the only arm in that rotation that I could confidently say is going to be consistent.
Well, even through his first 3 starts, he hasn't been great. For Logan Webb.
But
is that going to come down? Yeah, it's going to come down.
He'll be fine. I don't think he's going to be a problem. I think who's going to be a problem? I think Robbie Ray, he's always hurt. I mean, he's an okay arm when he's healthy now, but he's not what he was, when he wasn't a Cy Young. Yeah. It reeks of old talent that you brought way after their prime, and it's just not good enough. So if you're going to critique something about the Giants, it would be that. Now, my whole point in talking about this is that the Phillies are now playing them. So who do you got in that series, Phillies or the Giants?
Phillies.
Phillies?
100%.
Safe to say. I mean, I see. The problem is the Phillies have been very streaky. Very streaky.
Well, tonight they have Christopher Sanchez on the bump, so
fair.
All signs point to the Phillies winning this one. I'd be shocked if it goes any other way. But no, you're right, though. Philadelphia has been a little streaky. The bats are starting to come around. Bryce Harper, who got off to that slow start, is starting to pick it up just a little bit. He's trying to hit that 200 average. He's getting there, but I think the bats are not an issue for the Phillies. We know how good they are. Kyle Schwarber is going to have his usual 40 home runs by the end of the season, even though he's struggled to hit it out so far early on. Trey Turner is going to do Trey Turner things, steal 30 bags, hit for average. But
let me put it this way. We could be living in a world in Philadelphia where, and I'll end it on this because we are ending in a minute, where Bryce Harper is not the player he was,
Mhm.
and Jalen Hurts could be traded.
Don't tell Vincent to go.
Just saying. I'm just saying, Philadelphia. I'm sorry. I do not mean to upset you. Psych, I do mean to upset you. But, a lot of trouble going on there in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. All right. That's been me, Anthony Walsh. It's been Justin Randell. It's been Vincent Picone, who left a little early today. You've been listening to The Walkoff on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.